Hi, I'm Jim Burgess, the founder of the Institute for Family Healing. I'd like to do a presentation for you today called The Nature of Healing, Part 1, A Story of Creation. We're going to have Part 2 and 3 and maybe a 4, but let's start here and see where we end up. So, as the story goes, and first there was Source, God, which was, as many religions agree, the source of everything that is. Everything in that we see or know of comes through this source, and there's only one source. Agreed? Agreed. So Source, in its glory and in the etheric realms, it has a profound inspiration one day, and it decides, I would like to expand myself and grow myself and evolve myself, and I'm going to do it with love, this all-encompassing emotion that created unity, brought things together, synthesized. It says, okay, so love and evolving and expanding, great. How am I going to do that? So one day, one moment in time, because we didn't have days back then, one moment in time, all of a sudden it's like, I know, I'll split myself into two polarities, and those two polarities are going to be completely opposite, positive and negative. And if we bring those, if I split them and we bring them back together, they'll actually have more energy than they were on their own. Synergy or fusion, if you will. So this would give us the fuel and give Source the fuel to continue to expand in love and fulfill its goal. Great. How am I going to do that? Got the two polarities. Why don't I create an identity out of them? One that's more masculine and one that's more feminine. So hence the birth of, or the creation of, Mother God and Father God in the etheric realms. So these two now could be position holders or be an actual place where these energies could play themselves out. It's like, all right, now we need a playground. Where are they going to exist? I know, let's put them in a dimension that's more dense than this one, a third dimension, that would actually consolidate these energies so we could see it more clearly. Let's call it Earth. So Earth is created, and all the other planets in the solar system and on the sun, all the things that it took for us to get to where we are today. So Earth is here, and it says, okay, now I have a home for these two polarities of Mother, Father, God, and what that's going to look like is the birth of these humans. Well, it was interesting as the humans were being born, because having a father and a mother, some of the bodies were thicker, more muscular, particularly in a man or a woman. If they had a more full figured body, a more muscular body, then that was going to be a bigger energy. But in some of the men, they were taller and thinner, and the same was in the women. It's like, I wonder what this is. And then Source says, oh, wow, I realize what I've created here. I've created the principles of yin and yang. So the yin and yang is basically an energy flow within a being. So is it more outward, strong, forceful? Is it more inward, clever, and mental? So does it rely on its strength, or does it rely on its mind? So these two yin and yang qualities were already starting to affect the persona of the human beings. And on closer inspection, what we got to see when we saw the families they were born from is that the thicker men and women came from the father's side of the family, or the paternal grandfathers, and the women on the and the men and the women on the yin side came from the maternal side of the family. Wow, that's interesting, because those sides of the families are going to come out to mean something very important later. And now we start having kids, and we notice that there are actually 6 different brothers. 3 of them have the thicker bodies, 3 of them have the thinner bodies. Those are the triangles on the left side of the screen. And then we have the women that have the same thing. The more young woman that's more mothering and more grounded and practical. And then we have the more creative, distant, aloof ones on the maternal side. Wow, isn't this interesting? So it turns out that every human being is born into a family. Whether you're an only child, whether you didn't know your parents or whatever, you come through a genetic sequence, a line. A man and a woman had to come together for you to be here. And so from that standpoint, what we realized is that the specific position you're born into the birth order creates a polarity. And that polarity then goes to the yin and yang and then affects the personality, the career choices, and social disposition. And then we began to realize is that these 6 brothers and 6 sisters were covering all the bases because there were 12 of the human condition. There's something magical about the number 12. We'll go into that a little bit later. What we learned from the model of the birth order is that even though you're born into a family with older siblings or younger siblings or whatever it is, you only occupy one position. And that position is connected to a specific grandparent. 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 12 grandparents. So each one of these 6 brothers and sisters was connected to a grandparent, which we'll go over in part 2. And so the key to this was that each birth order position would create, let's say you're a second-born boy, the lion's share of your personality would come through a specific grandparent. But the secret to it is the 11 other birth order positions were actually your life lessons. And by practicing the other 11, you would be you would be the best version of your intrinsic birth order position. So this was really about not just being one thing, but being able to be everything from inside, because all these birth order positions, all these grandparents, and all these energies and all of Source is all in all of us. So now we had a model for healing that when accidents, illness, and disease happen in our life, it's because these 12 factors and others are out of sorts. They're out of harmony. They're out of synergy. They're toxic. They're not communicating. We got problems going on inside. And when we have problems going on inside, that's what creates our outside. So when we want to heal, I just brought in the H word, when we want to go to healing, which actually by dictionary definition means to become more whole, you fix a flat tire if it's broken. Souls are revolving in a body. So it's not about fixing something. Nothing's wrong with you as a human because you have bad thoughts, depression, or cancer. It just means you're out of balance. You're out of harmony. And so when we can start to use this model as a blueprint for our healing. Wow. Well, what a great model. Except that it needs a piece because there's so many things happening. And what we realize is that each human being in their birth order and each soul chose their parents, chose their grandparents, and their family lineage, because the soul always incarnates with a purpose, on a journey and a mission to accomplish certain things. So it picks a family that's going to best support the itinerary because it has similar lessons. And so now all of a sudden it became obvious and apparent that we needed these lessons. Everybody in our family is sharing certain things, and so if we have the same pain, is it possible that we could all heal together? And yes, it is. But with so many things we could have inherited from our family tree, what did we specifically inherit? Well, the answer is actually in the colored portion of your eyes, or the irises, where all these grandparent birth order positions show up based on this slide that you're looking at. And so when you have specific markings in the eyes, these are specific lessons. These are the things that you signed up for. And we know today that the eyes are a genetic blueprint of inheritance. So now we have a roadmap to your life. And in part 2, we'll go over how that map works.